reminder for you guys how bad the public education system is, how bad the higher education system is. Because if you haven't quite figured it out yet, universities all across America have become a really dangerous indoctrination tool. And we see how they're pushing all of these radical ideologies. We see how they're pushing these gender bender ideologies. We see how they're pushing communism. But what you may not know is that they are also recruiting people into terrorist groups like Antifa. You believe that? Let me give you an example. Stacey Patton. She teaches at Howard University in Washington, D.C. By the way, this is an HBCU for those of you keeping track at home. She teaches media, journalism, film, and communication, and also teaches at a lesser-known school, Morgan State University in Baltimore. And that woman, you see the PhD next to her name as if that means anything anymore. In fact, usually these days, PhD is just a signal that you're crazy. So this woman is advocating for white political allies to emulate vigilante mass murderer. This is a headline from Fox News. Now, she points to militant John Brown in a recent blog post about allyship. So in this post, she glorifies John Brown. She says, so when white allies ask, what can I do? Here's the answer. Be like John Brown. Ask yourself, what am I willing to burn so somebody else can breathe? Now, you may be wondering, who is John Brown? Let me tell you, this is John Brown. John Brown was a militant slave abolitionist during the pre-Civil War, and in 1856, he orchestrated the Potawatomi Massacre. Say that 5 times fast. He and fellow abolitionists dragged 5 Kansas settlers, at least 3 of whom were pro-slavery sympathizers, out of their homes and executed them. Now, overall, he killed at least 10 people directly and was responsible for the deaths of several others in these violent raids. And later, he was tried for treason and eventually hanged. So this is the guy that this woman is glorifying. And by the way, he didn't sacrifice himself. He slaughtered innocent men to ignite a race war. This is the guy that a college professor is calling for modern white progressives to take up his torch. Now, what's even more disturbing when you look into the context, because context is important after all, when you look into the context of what John Brown actually stands for today, because what it started as was a leftist gun rights group. They were based in Kansas. This was like back in 2002. That group spun off into spin-off groups like Puget Sound near Seattle, but now it's just used as a collective group name for Antifa. How do we know this? Well, there have been flyers popping up in campuses all across the country telling people to join the John Brown Club, like this one that you're looking at. Yes, it's a familiar slogan, "Hey fascist, catch," which was written on one of the bullets that the Charlie Kirk assassin had loaded into his weapon. This says also lower on there, those of you who are listening on audio podcast, the bulletin says, "Hey fascists, catch, the only political group that celebrates when Nazis die." The QR code will take you to the John Brown Gun Club. Lovely. Lovely. You too can find this at a college campus near you. Make sure that you share the show, please, and help us expose the extremists in academia hiding in plain sight. So we know of other Antifa members who have carried out violence under the banner of the John Brown Gun Club. I go back to this example quite frequently because it is an example. It exemplifies so many different things. The 2019 Antifa member who tried to firebomb the ICE facility in Washington State. Remember, Antifa doesn't exist. Oh, wait, it does, because this guy's firebombing people. That guy was a member of the John Brown Gun Club. I mean, I see them everywhere I go. Here in Dallas, the Antifa Club is the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club. That is what they call themselves. They are the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club. They talk about it all the time. These are the people that I encounter at these protests, including Benjamin Song. That same guy, he is a known Antifa member of the Elm Fork John Brown Gun Club, and was also the guy who was on the Texas top 10 most wanted list before he was captured because he allegedly, I have to say for legal reasons, was he just attempted murder because he attacked the ICE facility in Alvarado, Texas on July 4th. So in reality, this woman knows that she is in fact glorifying a man who represents that. A man who represents violence being carried out across the streets in this country. She knows that she has a direct influence over the next generation. She knows that she is, of course, trying to instigate these people into committing crimes. But this is what happened. This is what happens when America lets higher education become an incubator for leftist extremism. These professors are not educating these students anymore. They are there to simply radicalize them. That's it. That's it. And by the way, I would say, imagine if a conservative professor said that their followers should, emulate serial killers or white supremacists or domestic terrorists, people who later committed so many crimes they were tried for treason and hanged. They'd be fired. I would say, imagine if, but I don't think there are any conservative professors left anymore. It's just straight up leftist indoctrination camps who are promoting that people go after whiteness. And by the way, if you go after whiteness, apparently academia applauds it as activism. Now, let's just put a little bow on this, okay? This woman who is teaching the next generation, Stacey Patton, PhD, can't forget it. PhD, can't forget it. Just like Dr. Jill Biden. This is Stacey Patton, PhD. Okay? Let me show you what she said about Charlie Kirk. She says, the truth is that Kirk and his foot soldiers spent years terrorizing educators, trying to silence us with harassment and fear. And now the same violence he unleashed on others has come full circle. But what I find especially jarring is the dissonance in public mourning for a smug white man whose life work was actively hostile to certain groups. The same violence he unleashed on others has come full circle. I'm sorry, excuse me, can you point to the people that Charlie Kirk murdered? But no, to the leftists in academia, violence are words. Words are violence. Actual violence is just, if it's violence that they agree with. Don't waste any brain cells trying to make it make sense because it doesn't, but these are the people with PhD behind their names who are teaching your children. She also wrote an op-ed moments after President Trump was nearly assassinated. Is he dead? Why Black people are not grieving the failed assassination of Donald Trump. Yes, you see, why Black people are not grieving the failed assassination of Donald Trump. Is he dead? Well, it's a whole piece about her fantasizing about what would have happened if Donald Trump was killed. You can expect the same epithets as with the Charlie Kirk comments. He's a racist. His killing would have been justified. When are people going to wake up and realize you don't need to be putting your children or putting yourselves in mountains of debt to send your kids to a school to be taught by a PhD who says these kind of things and has more influence over your children because they see them more often than you do? President Trump needs to go after these universities more because this Howard University professor is not an outlier. This is a culture that rewards hate, that glorifies violence, and excuses it when it's done under the banner of social justice, diversity, equity, and inclusion. And I genuinely fear for the next generation of these activists. We showed you in the charts just yesterday. They think that as long as the ends justifies the means, violence is a virtue. Stop sending your children to these indoctrination camps, please, for the love of God. Make sure you're subscribed on YouTube as well. Thank you. Hit the like button. Smash that like button. Or you can gently tap it. We all appreciate a gentle tapping from time to time. If you like this clip and you want to see the full episode, click here. And if you want to subscribe to the channel, come on, you know you do. Click here.